Hi, welcome back to Genesis 19. Genesis 19, the doom of Sodom. Now the two angels came to Sodom in the evening as Lot was sitting in the gate of Sodom. When Lot saw them, he rose to meet them and bowed down with his face to the ground. And he said, Now behold, my lords, please turn aside into your servant's house and spend the night and wash your feet. Then you may rise early and go on your way. They said, however, No, but we shall spend the night in the square. Yet he urged them strongly, so they turned aside to him and entered his house. And he prepared a feast for them and baked unleavened bread, and they ate. Before they lay down, the men of the city, the men of Sodom, surrounded the house, both young and old, all the people from every quarter. And they called to Lot and said to him, Where are the men who came to you tonight? Bring them out to us, that we may have relations with them. But Lot went out to them at the doorway and shut the door behind him, and said, Please, my brothers, do not act wickedly. Now behold, I have 2 daughters, who have not had relations with man. Please let me bring them out to you, and you do with them whatever you like. Only do nothing to these men, inasmuch as they have come under the shelter of my roof. But they said, Stand aside. Furthermore, they said, This one came in as an alien, and already he is acting like a judge. Now we will treat you worse than them. So they pressed hard against Lot and came near to breaking the door. But the men reached out to their hands and brought Lot into the house with them and shut the door. They struck the men who were at the doorway of the house with blindness, both small and great, so that they were wearied. So it wearied themselves trying to find the doorway. Then the 2 men said to Lot, Who else have you here? A son-in-law, and your sons and your daughters, and whoever you have in the city, bring them out of the place. For we are about to destroy this place, because their outcry has become so great before the Lord that the Lord has sent us to destroy it. Lot went out and spoke to his son-in-laws, who were to marry his daughters, and said, Up, get out of this place, for the Lord will destroy the city. But he appeared to his son-in-laws to be jesting. When morning dawned, the angels urged Lot, saying, Up, take your wife and your 2 daughters who are here, and you will be swept away in the punishment of the city. But he hesitated. So the men seized his hand and the hand of his wife and the hands of his 2 daughters, for the compassion of the Lord was upon him. And they brought him out and put him outside the city. When they had brought him outside, one said, Escape for your life. Do not look behind you, and do not stay anywhere in the valley. Escape to the mountains, or you will be swept away. But Lot said to them, Oh no, my lords. Now behold, your servant has found favor in your sight, and you have magnified your loving kindness, which you have shown me by saving my life. But I cannot escape to the mountains, for the disaster will overtake me, and I will die. Now behold, this town is near enough to flee to, and it is small. Please let me escape there. Is it not small, that my life may be saved? He said to them, Behold, I grant you this request also, not to overthrow the town of which you have spoken. Hurry, escape there, for I cannot do anything until you arrive there. Therefore the name of the town was called Zor. The sun had risen over the earth when Lot came to Zor. Then the Lord rained on Sodom and Gomorrah brimstone and fire from the Lord out of heaven, and he overthrew those cities, and all the valley, and all the inhabitants of the cities, and what grew on the ground. But his wife from behind him looked back, and she became a pillar of salt. Now Abraham arose early in the morning and went to the place where he had stood before the Lord. And he looked down towards Sodom and Gomorrah and towards all the land of the valley, and he saw and behold, the smoke of the land ascended like the smoke of a furnace. Thus it came about, when God destroyed the cities of the valley, that God remembered Abraham and sent Lot out of the midst of the overthrow, when he overthrew the cities in which Lot lived. Lot debased. Lot went up from Zoar and stayed in the mountains, and his 2 daughters with him, for he was afraid to stay in Zoar, and he stayed in a cave, he and his 2 daughters. Then the firstborn said to the younger, O father is old, and there is not a man on earth to come in to us after this manner of the earth. Come, let us make our father drink wine, and let us lie with him, that we may preserve our family throughout our father. So they made their father drink wine that night. And the firstborn went in and lay with her father, and he did not know when she lay down or when she arose. On the following day, the firstborn said to the younger, Behold, I lay last night with my father. Let us make him drink wine tonight also. Then you go in and lie with him, that we may preserve our family through our father. So they made their father drink wine that night also, and the younger arose and lay with him, and he did not know when she lay down or when she rose. Thus both the daughters of Lot were with child by their father. The first bore a son and called his name Moab. He is the father of the Moabites to this day. As for the younger, she also bore a son and called his name Ben-Amm. He is the father of sons of Ammon to this day. And that concludes chapter 19. Okay, let's go inside the text. This section here says quite a bit. I find this through the Pentateuch. There's so much that is relatable from not just then, but to certain things that we deal with today. In the beginning, it speaks of the 2 angels. So when we had left, Abraham had 3 that were with him. 1 we knew that were the Lord. Now we know the other 2 were angels. And it were the 2 angels that had come down to Sodom and Gomorrah, or down to Sodom. These were the angels who with God had visited Abraham. They had taken human form. Lot was sitting at the gate. Since city officials and other prominent citizens conducted the community's affairs at the gate, Lot participated there as a judge. He strongly tried to urge the angels the 2 men to come to his house instead of going to sleep in the city. It says the men of the city and all the people, both the size of the lustful mob of men boisterously milling around Lot's house and the widespread nature of Sodom's moral perversion received emphasis both from the additional qualifiers used as all the people from every quarter, and both young and old, and the request made, having relations with them, even acknowledging legitimate exaggeration in this use of all, would not detract from the emphasis. This was indeed a wicked city. In 1905, have relations with them, in case you didn't know, that they sought homosexual relations with the visitors. God's attitude towards this vile behavior became clear when he destroyed the city. There are other references that are here listing Leviticus, Romans, and 1 Corinthians and Titus, where all homosexual behavior is prohibited and condemned by God. Those are reference points for that. His response betrayed tensions in his ethics. His offer to gratify their sexual lust contradicted his plea not to act wickedly. Such contradiction made clear also the vexation of a spirit under which he lived in wicked Sodom. At this point, he's trying to appease the wickedness so that they would spare who he knew who was righteous. And it says here, he contended for himself with some sins and weak faith rather than leaving Sodom, but God was gracious to him because he was righteous by faith before God. He, even though he was offering them up, he was still righteous because he had been considered righteous already. Lot was now being protected by those whom he had earlier sought to protect. At this point, we see that Lot's taken out of there with his wife. His wife turns back and becomes a pillar of salt. They were specifically told to turn and not look back at Sodom. Repeatedly over time, we are given commands, and we are to follow those commands. Any deviation from those commands, and there's judgment. So this is set from the very beginning of the Bible and carries throughout the Bible, that when we turn from a command, there's going to be punishment. That's something that we have to consider. They're commands that are given to us. So once again, you see that example that's there. Then we get later on in the chapter where Lot's daughters get him intoxicated, where he doesn't know that the oldest and the youngest over a 2-night period lay with him and further bear children. And that concludes inside of chapter 19. Hope to see you back for chapter 20.